To be honest, I have no idea what to call this video. But in light of a couple projects I'm working on with clients, I thought it was pertinent to have a discussion about layout, particularly with regards to how important of a role windows can play. Welcome back to HS Design Studio, and today I want to talk all about kitchen layouts. Well, not really all about them, because we spend a lot of time talking about how we need the working triangle and how a layout will determine all of the function of the kitchen and how you need working zones, and all of that is really important. It's incredibly important to the overall kitchen function. However, it's hypothetical in nature. It needs to be applied to each individual kitchen, to your own kitchen, in a unique manner for every single case. I want to approach the topic a little bit differently and talk about layout specifically with regards to windows and what I'm doing with two particular projects right now to completely change their kitchen layout. Before I dive in, a bit of context about these projects. Both kitchens currently have a peninsula. The peninsula causes issues for various reasons, so in both cases we want it removed. However, by removing the peninsula, we wind up in this state where the current windows, or lack thereof, really dictate what we can do with the design. I want to take a tiny tangent to discuss peninsulas for a second, a mini pros and cons list, if you will. Peninsulas are great. They offer extra storage, extra countertop room, and even a place for seating, something that can be really important in a kitchen, especially if you don't have room for an island or if you're looking to add it in some manner. They can be a phenomenal solution in some spaces. However, they can also act like a barrier. They can stop people from naturally flowing into a kitchen space, or worse yet, they can keep people hemmed in the main kitchen working area. And this was one of the major complaints of one of my clients, so project number one we're going to talk about. The other problem is peninsulas add another corner to the kitchen. And while there is a bunch of ways that you can solve that and keep it still quite functional, a video all in its own right and something we're not going to talk about today, the way not to do it is to hem the sink right into that corner. That was the problem of kitchen number two we're going to look at later today. Alrighty, let's dive into project number one. We'll take a look at some of the before photos of the current kitchen as it sits now, and then we'll also walk through the new design. This is a standard builder kitchen, and the layout is good. There's a decent amount of room around the sink and range, the fridge is easily accessible, and the peninsula checks off a lot of those benefits we already discussed. This might lead you to think, it's a perfectly functional space, so where is the problem? When you take a closer look, you start to see some areas that can be drastically improved. Starting with the pantry. Builders love these bifold style setups with rows of shelves inside. However, they turn into a hodgepodge mess that can be difficult to organize. Plus, all of the extra framing is a waste of space. Second, the cabinet above the fridge is utterly useless. And then we have the desk off in the corner of the eating nook in the kitchen. I know. Before you blast me in the comments about how I've talked all about how desks are a waste of space in the kitchen and they just become a dumping ground for stuff and really it's useless, bear with me. They do work for some people, and I think this might be one of those cases. Major concern for this client though, guests always wind up congregating in the main working area of the kitchen. No one wanted to sit on the other side of the peninsula, everyone just hangs out on the kitchen side, winding up in the way. However, the hurdle to changing the layout is the large window in the eating area of the kitchen. It is too wide to add storage around and too low to add cabinets underneath. I knew right away that some of the budget was going to have to go towards shrinking that window, both in width and in height. That would just allow us to take complete advantage of the back wall of the kitchen. Now, luckily, with going smaller, all the structural framing is in place, and we weren't going to lose a ton of natural light anyways. We'll keep it symmetrical with that kitchen window and make that kind of whole back wall unified. In the new design, we eliminated the peninsula and added an island without seating. This gets rid of that barrier feeling a peninsula can create. Instead of a single walkthrough from the dining area through the kitchen to the family room or outside, we now have two. It is still a place people can stand around, and guests will naturally gravitate towards the back of that island instead of the main cooking area. I should also mention that these particular clients have a separate dining area, so we don't need to worry too much about shrinking that eat-in kitchen because they still have a larger table for those larger family gatherings or when they have more guests over. Therefore, let's take advantage of the entire back wall of the kitchen. First, I shrank the window down to be more symmetrical with the sink window. This opens enough space to extend the kitchen area further into the eating nook and add 2 more pantry cabinets that flank a built-in desk. I did drop the countertop area in this area to desk height. However, the same process could be applied to a breakfast bar, a coffee bar, even a cocktail bar off to the side of the kitchen. I did this recently with another client project where we spread the kitchen all the way across the back wall and added a breakfast bar area. If you want to take a look at that project in more detail, I'll throw a link up in the top corner. Decreasing the size of this window is what allows the layout change to take place. The downstream effects are pretty substantial too. More storage, a proper desk area, more countertop space, both on the sink wall and on the island. We can even keep an eating area within the kitchen, albeit slightly smaller. The other big change occurs on the fridge wall. We'll knock out the built-in pantry and place it with pantry cabinets. Not only do I find this looks more aesthetically pleasing in this situation, it is vastly superior when it comes to organization. A home for the microwave that isn't above the range is also a nice bonus too. I think one of the coolest parts about creating this whole new layout is we were able to keep all of the appliances in this current location. It has a nice working triangle still, and I kept the fridge on the end of this pantry for a reason. That keeps the main working area at one end of the kitchen. You know, you're not running circles around the island. By not relocating appliances, we don't need to relocate mechanicals, which saves us a ton of money in the budget. And then the final bonus is we make a room at the front of the house, that dining room, useful again for larger family gatherings, instead of just an empty room that doesn't see any action. Moving on to project number 2, we have a congested kitchen space, poor working layout, sink hemmed in the peninsula corner, and a beautiful forested green space and side yard with no access or view. Instead of wasting time going through all of the things wrong with this kitchen, I want to jump right into the new design. The peninsula had to go. It divided an already narrow kitchen and made the eating nook feel closed off. This meant the sink needed a new home. You may already notice as well that in contrast to the last project, every appliance needed relocating. First, a new window and home for the sink underneath. This will add a ton of natural light to the dark space. From there, it was a matter of laying out the rest of the exterior wall. Range needed to be relocated here so proper venting could be added, plus it needed to move anyways to make room for the fridge. I wanted to keep the range or sink wall as open as possible, focusing on base cabinet storage and just a few wall cabinets. This keeps the focus on the exterior. Flipping around to the opposite side of the kitchen, we now had open space for the fridge and pantry cabinets. Just like the previous project, I closed up the built-in pantry. It lacked the ability to organize, and we can make better use of it from the dining room side of the wall anyways. In its place, 3 pantry cabinets are added and a home for the microwave. You will also notice that I took the fridge from being in the corner on one wall and moved it inward to be away from the corner when relocating it on the second. When you're redesigning or you're designing your own space, I highly recommend you try and take that fridge out of the corner. It allows the doors and drawers to function properly without having to worry about that adjacent wall. The final touch to this layout was adding access to the side yard. We removed one of the windows in the eating nook and replaced it with a sliding glass door. This creates the exterior access they were hoping for and adds even more natural light to the kitchen. In the end, this kitchen will now feel unified, much larger and a whole lot brighter. Adding that window to the exterior wall above the sink, or where the new sink is located, really pulled this whole design together and allowed the new layout to be achieved. You don't need to let window size or the lack of a window become a dictator to your final or new design. In many cases, tackling this rather small change early on will be the first domino to fall, making the rest of your decisions and the rest of the design come together that much easier. If you have any questions about the particulars of either design, whether it's cabinet sizing, drawers versus doors, that sort of thing, let me know down below. I try and dedicate some time each and every week to go through all of your comments and questions. As always, thanks a ton for watching, and until the next one, bye-bye.